Board Member Noble, can I get a mic check, please? You're still muted.
Good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
Question. Do we think we'll be back in person next month?
This is Jeff Butler. I think we, so what we're hearing now, and there's no certainty yet, but the governor's executive order, whatever we're calling it, expires, and that will mean, at least for city council, I think I'm hearing June 8th would be the last day that we can have in-person meetings, but we're not certain. I don't know that this will be. It might be the June meeting is the last one, but almost certainly July, if we have a July meeting, will be in person.
Okay, thank you.
Mr.
Jason, that means that we're all going to have to wear pants.
And shoes.
That, you know, oh, okay.
Mr. Dixon, can I get a mic check?
Mic check, check. And to sign into Prime Gov, you know what email address was used?
It would be, let me look here. It's your Capstone Energy email.
Yeah, I don't have that email any longer.
All right, let me update that real quick for you. You want to use the same one I sent you the emails to this morning?
Yes, ma'am. And then will you put me a temporary password in or something, or?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll
Okay.
email that to you.
Thank you.
All right, sir, that email is sent and the username has been updated to the new email address.
Thank you.
Mickey, should I go ahead and read the announcements?
Yeah, we do have quorum, so you can go ahead and proceed, and Mr. Dixon can voice vote until he gets logged in if we need to.
Very good. Thanks for joining us for the City of Oklahoma City Video Conference Community and Neighborhood Enhancement Advisory Board meeting. This is May 5th, 2021. As you're aware, during the state of emergency in place during the COVID-19 pandemic and in compliance with state and local stay-at-home orders. No physical location will be provided for this meeting. The meeting will instead be live streamed from remote locations. We want to remind everyone that as you have arrived in our virtual meeting, we have muted your mic. We have a few announcements to make regarding this virtual meeting. If the video conference is disconnected at any time during the meeting shall be stopped and reconvened once the audio connection is restored. If communications are unable to be restored within 30 minutes, items remaining for considerations will be continued to Monday, May 10th at 10 a.m. via teleconference. Anyone wishing to speak about an agenda item or public hearing or to speak under citizens to be heard, please call 405-297-2406 or email mark.mishoe, M-I-S-H-O-E @okc.gov. Speakers will be allowed 3 minutes to comment. When you call in, staff will be muting your line. Please keep your lines on mute until you are recognized to speak. To unmute your phone, press *6. We ask all participants except the board members keep their lines on mute until they are recognized to speak. The board members will be allowed to ask questions or comments at any time during this meeting. Please remember that only one person can be heard at a time. If more than one person speaks, we will not hear you both. For anyone speaking today, including board members, please identify yourself when you begin to speak. The agenda and documents discussed in this meeting are located on okc.gov. At this time, would like to call this meeting to order. And Mickey, do you say we do have a quorum?
Yes, sir, we do.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank everyone for joining today. I would like to invite legal counsel to address our committee this morning about the concerns that we follow the Open Meetings Act. Is Craig Keith available this morning?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here. Of course, I get a frog in my throat just as I'm supposed to speak. Just wanted to give the board some advice on open meetings questions that have been raised. The minutes of public meetings of public bodies are drafted by city staff to document actual statements, actions, and events occurring at the meeting. I have advised city staff not to circulate draft minutes by email to the board as a whole. The draft minutes will be presented to the board as part of a subsequent meeting agenda for board review and approval at the public meeting. When considering approval of the minutes of a public meeting, the board members should only revise draft minutes to the extent the minutes do not accurately reflect actual statements, actions, and events. If board members are uncertain as to any statement, action, or event, the board members may review the video recording of the public meeting, as public meetings are recorded and available to the board and to the public online. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Craig. Appreciate that. Let's this meeting begin. The first item is approve minutes from March 1st, 2021. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Well, I'm sorry, everyone cast their vote.
Mr. Johnston, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Mr. LaHue, do you have voting buttons? You may have to press escape on your keyboard to make Zoom minimize.
Okay, I thought I had a double screen here, so let me check. I'm in favor, so here we go. Got it.
And Mr. Dixon, do you have voting buttons?
No, I'm seeing the moved and second, but my buttons aren't showing up.
So you may need to press escape so that it minimizes Zoom. When we share the screen, it likes to take over if you're not double screened.
Okay. But I vote in favor. There we go.
Very good. That passes. Next item is item 3, items for consideration. 3A is street resurfacing projects.
Good morning, Board. This is Mike Clark with the Public Works Department. Welcome to the May 3rd, 2021 meeting of the Community and Neighborhood Enhancement Advisory Board. We don't have a huge agenda today, but we hope the ability to consider a preliminary report for the Paseo Walker Street Enhancement projects and the possible funding allocation of a new street enhancement project in the Britain Old Town area is intriguing to you. We believe both projects offer strong quality of life and economic development opportunities. As always, Brock Miner and Lakeisha Dunbar will work together to provide individual project updates to you, and they will be available to assist me on the street enhancement discussion items. Please stop us at any time with questions or comments you have. With that, I will invite Brock to lead you through the street resurfacing project updates.
Good morning, everyone. I'll start with the category allocations, after our March 1st meeting. And as you see, the resurfacing, sidewalk, and trails are fully allocated. If not fully allocated, they're very close. And we still have some room in street enhancement at 77% and bicycle infrastructure at 65%. And that'll bring me to the next slide, and we'll start item 3A1, street resurfacing projects. I have a short update for you, and we always start with our map. And with the map, you see that the majority of everything is in the complete green category. And then we do still have some in the red category in construction, and there's only a very few projects that haven't started construction. Some of those are county agreements that are wrapping up, and then some of them are projects that we have we're going to bid those projects and they haven't been awarded yet. So that's where we are on that, but we're making a lot of progress. With that, I'll open it up if anybody has any questions.
Hi, Brock. This is Tony Carfang in Ward 2.
Okay.
Just to ensure everybody's clear that this map is purely sales tax resurfacing projects and not bond resurfacing projects, right?
That is correct. This is all the approved sales tax projects that this board has approved.
Right. And on the Oklahoma City Better Streets Safer City website, I believe it has all combined for a pretty comprehensive map. Is that accurate?
Does. Yep, that is correct. Your first map that you see when you pull up Better Streets Safer City in okc.gov, it shows that bond. I guess, the initiative was Better Streets Safer City. That included the bond, and then it included the 27-month extension of the MAP sales tax. And so it shows all of those projects. And if you just want to see the sales tax projects, you can go down and there's another click of the button that you can click on just I think it says, additional penny or something. And when you click on that, it will pull up just this map right here.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, if there's no further questions, I'll turn it over to Lakeisha Dunbar and planning to go over the item 3B1 street enhancement projects.
Good morning. I'm Lakeisha Dunbar, Transportation Program Planner in the Planning Department, and I'll be covering items 3B1, starting with this street enhancement project update. If you can go to the next slide. I don't have any slides for you today, but this is the list of the projects, and I'll be covering them not in this order, but I like to cover them based on their progression. And starting with the intersection of Northwest 10th and Vermont, this is a mid-block signal crossing. The fixed limit of construction for this project was $493,000, just over $493,000. And the construction is in the punch list phase for the 10th and Vermont project. The signal has been installed and it's been in operation for about a month and a half now. For the 39th Street area project, this is the area bounded by Northwest 39th Street, the Northwest 40th, Penn, and Youngs. The fixed limit of construction for this project is about just over $1.6 million. The work order was issued to Conley Paving on December 28th with the required completion date of September 24, 2021. The project is approximately 25% complete. The next project is the Portland project. This is Portland from Northwest 23rd Street to Northwest 36th Street. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $2.6 million. And this project, we had additional traffic warrant studies to be done, and they've been completed. And this is looking at the intersection of 27th Street and 33rd Street. The project will be presented at the May Traffic Commission meeting. So these warrant studies will be presented to Traffic Commission. The next project is the Meridian project. This is Meridian from Northwest 16th Street to Northwest 26th Street. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $729,000. Survey and easement review is underway within the vicinity of Meridian and Northwest 16th Street intersection, and the construction is anticipated to start summer of 2021. The next project is the Northeast 23rd Street project from Kelly to Miramar. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $675,000. Preliminary engineering options have been shared with the council member, and we are looking for additional funding before we move forward with this project. The next project is the Northwest 10th Street project, and this is from Rockwell to Council. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $600,000. The survey and easement review is underway in vicinity of for a retaining wall, and the construction is anticipated to start this summer of 2021. The next project is the Stockyards Project with a fixed limit of construction of just over $2.3 million. Scoping meeting was held with the district stakeholders, and a preliminary report is anticipated in July. Or by July. The next project is Plaza Area. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $459,000. A scoping meeting has been held with the district stakeholders, and the project is being considered for additional funding before moving forward. The next project is the Auto Alley Area project. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $1.3 million. A design contract is being amended at this time to consider the addition of a full traffic study. The project will provide a conceptual design for the district and construction documents for the limited area. And then the next three projects are the Paseo, the Walker, and then the Brittontown projects. I will turn over to Michael in just a minute, and he'll give you a preliminary report for the Paseo and Walker project, and he'll introduce to you the Brittontown project. But just as a reminder, the Paseo area project had a fixed limit of construction cost of just over $2.7 million. Preliminary report is we'll receive today, and anticipated construction is to be about June of 2022. This is after the Arts Festival ends. And the same for the Walker project, which is the Walker from Northwest 23rd Street to Northwest 36th Street. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $2 million. And it too has the same anticipated construction timeline for June 2022. And then we'll also be introducing to you the Britton Old Town project. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over. Well, if there are no questions on the previous projects before I turn it over to Michael to discuss the Paseo, the Walker, and the Brittontown projects, are there any questions on any of the previous projects?
Lakeisha, this is Tony Carfing from Ward 2 again. Thanks for the status rundown. Just one quick little thing. I heard the traffic study under Automobile Alleys Street Enhancement Project. Will that also include bike and streetcar and pedestrian and scooter counts?
He said, will it also include bike and pedestrian and what else?
Streetcar and scooter.
And scooter counts?
Yes, in terms of a full traffic study.
Okay. I am not sure that it has been written to include that. We can check with the project manager to see if the counts for those modes have been included.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions regarding the previous discussed projects? Okay, hearing none at this time, I'll turn it over to Michael and he'll present to you the preliminary report for Paseo and Walker and introduce to you the Brittontown project.
Thank you, Lakeisha. This is item 3B2 on your agenda. Paseo and Walker Avenue from Northwest 23rd to Northwest 36th are funded as individual projects in the street enhancement category. But in considering the preliminary report today, we would ask that you view them as a single effort. In visiting with the area stakeholders, one of their primary requests is to have the roadway and sidewalks on Paseo Drive accessible for each First Friday event. This means only demoing a small enough area that we can have it put back together within the next 30-day window. For a contractor to construct a streetscape in such a restricted manner is unquestionably inefficient. And one way to control the cost of this inefficiency is to pair it with a second area where the contractor can have a larger, more consistent footprint. In this case, Walker Avenue presents a perfect companion to Paseo. It is close by, and most of the work will occur behind the curb rather than out in the street. Many of the structures lining Walker have some sort of setback that allows the workers to remain clear of the access points onto the property. As a reminder, the design consultant for Paseo Walker is CEC Corporation with an assist from Planning Design Group in Tulsa. Both have participated in a large-scale community meeting to alert local stakeholders of the work to come. In addition, they have also led and or joined in numerous area walkthroughs, targeted property owner meetings, and design workshops. Next slide, please. The focus of the Paseo project is Paseo Drive from Northwest 30th south down to Northwest 28th and Walker. A small amount of work is also expected to occur on Northwest 29th, both east and west of Paseo Drive, as well as on Dewey, north of 29th. The limits of the Walker effort are listed as Northwest 23rd to Northwest 36th. To best balance our resources against the constraints and the needs of the area, we will be recommending that improvements be implemented only in certain locations while keeping open the possibilities of extending along the full mile. Next slide, please. Both projects are well funded, and the preliminary estimates show Paseo to be under budget and Walker to be over budget. Taken together, the combined estimates are below the total collective amount of the two budgets. Next slide, please. Those familiar with the Oklahoma City community in the 60s and 70s would remember a Paseo much different than what exists today. Thanks to the faithful commitment from the Belt family and others, Paseo has enjoyed an almost 4-decade revival to establish itself as the premier art district in Oklahoma City, home to more than 20 galleries and over 80 artists. As such, some of the amenities common to a street enhancement are already in place at Paseo and thriving. In particular, beautiful landscaping selected and installed to complement the Spanish architecture of the adjacent structures currently flourishes. In other ways, Paseo is due for an upgrade. ADA compliance at doorways, down sidewalks, and across intersections is severely lacking. Streetlights are non-functioning and beyond any sort of ongoing maintenance. Drainage is spotty, and the district is prone to flood in large storm events. Lastly, the condition of both sidewalk and roadway surfaces presents challenges to pedestrians and those utilizing all modes of transportation. As such, the targeted scope of work for Paseo will be ADA compliance, consistent lighting, improved drainage, increased parking, and enhanced pavement surfaces. Next slide, please. Walker Avenue from Northwest 23rd to Northwest 36th is classified as a minor arterial street carrying between 2,500 and 4,300 cars daily, according to current ACOG information. It runs from the northern edge of the Uptown District through Paseo, Jefferson Park, Edgemere, and Central Park neighborhoods. The current available right-of-way for Walker varies from 59 feet to 66 feet, and Bikewalk OKC shows Walker from Northwest 23rd to Northwest 36th as a Tier 3 facility. 3 options were initially considered for the design of Walker: a widening to allow 2 11-foot drive lanes and 2 5-foot bike lanes, maintain existing roadway width and add a 10-foot asphalt trail on one side and a 5-foot sidewalk on the other, maintain existing roadway width and add or replace sections of 2 5-foot sidewalks. The first 2 options drove costs significantly higher due to paving construction, drainage relocation, and anticipated easement acquisition requirements. For this reason, the preliminary report is based on utilizing the existing roadbed along with 2 5-foot sidewalks. Because of expected budget pressure, the scope of work for Walker will be divided strategically into base bid and alternate bid components. The Walker base bid will focus generally in the Northwest 23rd to Northwest 32nd area. Sidewalks east side, Northwest 23rd to Northwest 32nd. Sidewalks west side, Northwest 23rd to Northwest 30th. Pedestrian lighting on both sides of Walker, Northwest 23rd to 32nd. Street lighting at 100-foot intervals on the west side of Walker, 23rd to 32nd. Rain gardens at Walker, Northwest 32nd and Walker, Northwest 29th. I'm sorry, that's a mistake. I apologize. Rain gardens at Walker, Northwest 28th and Walker, Northwest 29th. And finally, a mill and overlay, Northwest 23rd to Northwest 32nd. Walker alternates will be bid to allow for extending sidewalks, lighting, and street resurfacing north from 32nd to 36th. Next slide, please. Following consideration of the preliminary report by this board and the City Council, construction documents will be prepared for bidding. The area stakeholders desire for construction to begin immediately following the 2022 Paseo Arts Festival. The overall duration for construction activities is expected to be 9 months, and this schedule takes into account the phasing necessary to provide vehicular and pedestrian access to the area for all First Friday events. With that, I will be happy to try to answer any questions you have.
Hi, Michael. This is Tony Carfang from Ward 2 again. Thanks for the details on all this. I'm especially excited about ADA sidewalks going in on Walker on both sides of the street. Do you know if there will be potential crosswalk enhancements, particularly at 28th at the entrance of the Paseo district?
Yes, Mr. Carfang. Again, both 28th and 29th are prone to flooding. So what is being proposed for those two intersections would be a use of a rain garden at those two intersections to basically slow down and hold at least some of the water that would typically just be on the surface of the roadway. As kind of a part of designing that 28th and Walker intersection, we are proposing to go to Traffic Commission and request a four-way stop at that intersection. So it will really kind of read as a southern kind of gateway into the Paseo, then up Paseo Drive. The reason that 29th becomes important is it actually carries a little bit more water than even 28th does. So to do those in tandem, the desire and the goal is to be able to handle the water a little bit better through that area.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited about that.
Michael, I'm sorry, this is Hal McKnight. Is there a reason why the construction timeframe that construction will not start until 2022?
Mr. McKnight, the feeling was that this is a construction project with an overall duration of 9 months. I believe Paseo has targeted to go ahead and have an arts festival this fall in 2021. So the feeling was that we did not have the ability to start a construction project prior to this year's arts festival. And then we also did not feel we could finish a construction project between the 21 Arts Festival and the 22 Arts Festival. So the district has asked us to move forward with the design documents and the bidding, but not to construct until after the festival ends on Memorial Day weekend in 22.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions? Well, I can certainly say that for those of us that have lived around Oklahoma City a long time and know the history of the Paseo, this is really a wonderful area, and it's just, I think it's admirable to this city that we are looking at this as a living legacy and appreciate the history of it. This does require a vote. If there are no more questions,
Mr. Johnston, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Mr. Dixon, did you get voting buttons this time?
Nope, yay.
Don't forget to press escape on your keyboard for the rest of you that may be looking for buttons when we reshared the screen. Mr. Chair, do you have voting buttons?
no, ma'am.
How would you like to vote?
I would vote yay.
Mr. Thompson? Thank you. Mr. Noble?
Yay.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate that. Thank you, Michael. Next is number 3B3.
Again, Mr. McKnight, I'm going to try to help you through this. In August of 2020, the board recommended a distribution of sales tax funds collected in excess of the original projection, an action verified by the City Council a month later. At that time, the street enhancement category of the Community Neighborhood Enhancement Program received an additional $6.8 million in funding. As demonstrated by the category allocation slide presented earlier, the street enhancement category currently sets at 77% allocated. Staff would like to request your consideration today in recommending a new project for funding. Britton Old Town, generally located on Britton Road east of Western Avenue, stands as one of Oklahoma City's newest developing districts. Next slide, please. Britton was founded in 1889 as the first railway station north of Oklahoma City. Next slide, please. Once boasting as many as 6,000 residents, Britton enjoyed a connection to the inner urban streetcar and was a social and economic hub for the area. Next slide, please. Route 66 passed through the town of Britton from 1936 to 1953, and the Owl Court exists today as one of Oklahoma's oldest surviving Route 66 motels. Hard times hit the area following World War II, though, and Britton was eventually annexed by Oklahoma City in 1950. A fire in 1970 destroyed a half block of the town, and subsequent decline offered visitors little more than empty storefronts and dive bars for their efforts. Next slide, please. However, Britton is currently experiencing a renaissance. Larger headline-grabbing renovations to the Ritz Theater and the aforementioned Owl Court are being complemented by smaller but no less vital additions such as coffee shops, art studios, and retail stores. Variety Care, a nonprofit community health center, opened in 2018. Next slide, please. Despite the growing momentum, the general infrastructure in Britton remains poor. Standard street enhancement strategies such as a simplified roadway configuration, improved pedestrian access, upgraded lighting, and inviting landscaping will position the property owners and stakeholders in Britton to elevate the district to the social and economic importance of its early years. Next slide, please. A street resurfacing project on Britton from Western to Interstate 235 is funded in the 2017 GEO Bond Program. We are asking you to consider a $2.4 million street enhancement project that could be combined with the resurfacing effort to maximize the potential of the district. Funding Britton Old Town project as described will increase the overall street enhancement funding allocation from 77% to 85%. With funding approvals from the board and city council, staff will go to work with the district stakeholders to identify needs and then prepare a preliminary report for the proposed improvements. The preliminary report would then be brought back to this board for consideration, just as we did with Paseo Walker earlier today. Again, I will attempt to provide any additional information you might need.
Michael, this is Hal McKnight. Do you know a traffic count for that area, that Britton Road area?
Right now, Mr. McKnight, the 2017 count, Britton between Western and 235 was 16,591. And in 2018, it had dropped slightly to 14,579.
Thank you. Thank you. Certainly appreciated the photographs of the redone Owl Courts. There's a wonderful coffee shop inside that building that's right there on the street right now. Again, that's a very historic area. Appreciate your education on this matter.
Well, and Mr. McKnight, I do think that we have a representative from the district prepared to speak today as well.
Very good. Are there any other questions from the board? Very good. Would love to hear the citizen that would like to speak on this. Could you please identify yourself?
Hi, my name is Grace Powell, and I am actually the executive director for the Britton District as it represents commercial investments in the area. And I've also been authorized to speak directly on behalf of some of our specific developers who are working on Old Town Britton on both the north and south sides of the street from that historic area that you saw in the photographs, one of them being the Ritz Theater. In just a few years, these investors and the businesses have and will be investing in excess, significant excess actually, of what the city is looking at putting into this area. And we're very, very thankful that you're considering partnering with us in the economic development that we're trying to see happen there. I'm also very glad to see that you recognize some of that. Our court is actually fully occupied now. They've finished those renovations and done all of those things. We believe that the north side of Britton also will be fully occupied, hopefully by the end of the year. All of those buildings are leased. And what's happening is we have just an exponential amount of increased traffic, especially foot traffic, and our sidewalks, curbs, and parking are becoming a real problem that we need to see addressed in order to continue to get some of the economic development, to keep it on track for what it is. We've actually had some injuries on those areas that I'm aware of, and we really appreciate you guys being willing to consider making this additional investment in the area. We need more than this, but this is an excellent start. And we're looking forward to working with you guys as stakeholders on the scoping and coming back with those design ideas, of which we have a few, I'm not gonna lie. And so we just wanted to say thank you and give our support for the project, and know that the stakeholders in the area are eager and willing to work together with you to make this a success for all of us.
Grace, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate partnerships are a good ship to sail in, for sure.
I do
I'm
believe
sorry.
we have some other members on the call, but I don't know that any of them are interested in speaking necessarily, but I do want you guys to know that there's quite a contingent of us observing this meeting.
Thank you. Appreciate your all's interest and support. This item, which is item 3B3, does require a vote. I'm sorry, was there another comment? Anthony?
Yeah. Hi, Grace. Tony Carfang from Ward 2. I appreciate you diving into some of the details, and this project in particular, with the Route 66 Centennial in a few years, I'm really excited about. I was curious on your perspective, though, with regard to, say, in terms of improving the parking situation and the accessibility, especially with regard to the exponential increase in pedestrian activity. Are the business owners or community looking for more Britton on-street parking, or perhaps some future plans for developing? I think there are some empty lots on 92nd as well as on 95th that could be turned into decent parking as well.
Oh, we have lots of ideas on those things, and I think we're going to need all of those scenarios as our traffic continues to grow. This project is scoped from, I think, up to Chartel, and my input with the scoping would be, I would like to see the street go to one lane, starting at Chartel and finishing at Classen. I'd like to see a pedestrian crosswalk there. That would give us more opportunities for on-street parking and to control traffic and speed, but I'm not sure that that's within the scope of this specific conversation. I did want to speak to the question about the traffic counts between 2017 and 2018. And while I can't give you the same kind of scientific assessment, in 2018 and 2019, the village did an enormous resurfacing project along their portion of Britton Road, and it was quite protracted. It took more than a year, and many of the routine travelers of that road began to avoid it for a long, long time because it was completely closed or down to one lane in portions. So I suspect that if you did another traffic study, you would find it increased because that project was very well done, and now people are actively using it again, in addition to the extra business that we're bringing into the area.
I really appreciate that insight. That helps a whole lot to provide context. I've biked along Britain a handful of times just on various commutes, and the connection to Classen and Chartel is really helpful for north-south corridor. I also really like your idea of the one lane in each direction. If we can manage the car traffic or the car demand for maybe other transportation options, and push ideally for 16-foot sidewalks on either side, make it really pedestrian friendly. But I appreciate your insight and your passion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Stephen Gotzinger has also signed up to speak if you, and he's been opened up so he can comment.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Mr. McKnight and the entire board. I really don't have anything to add. Grace hit all the points. We appreciate the board's efforts and Oklahoma City's efforts here, and we're eager to get this going. Our projects, as she said, on the north side have really come together, and expect by probably July to August, we'll have the north side fully developed and occupied with tenants. So anything that can be done to accelerate the process would be fantastic. However, we appreciate anything that can be done. And so just want to thank you all for doing what you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Are there any other citizens that would like to speak on this? Anthony Carfang, did you have another comment?
Yeah, if there aren't any other citizens to speak, I just had a question for city staff. So I wholeheartly support the Britton project, especially with the context of the Route 66 history. But out of curiosity, I know we like to leave a little bit of contingency for the other street enhancement projects that are already planned in case there happen to be budget impacts. But are there opportunities as well to look at using some of that budget to enhance scope around some of the existing projects already, to make them from good street enhancement projects to potentially great that may have been considered but got cut based on budgetary concerns, and maybe we could add some back?
Mr. Carfang, I think that is really what's happening as we speak. I think, again, it was important to allow you guys to consider this new project, but we do have about 15% of the overall budget that can still be allocated. Trying to move these projects at least up to the preliminary report phase or to an engineering report phase, I think kind of gives us a better idea of where each of them stands. But yes, I really anticipate that staff will be coming back to you guys with some budget revisions to enhance some of those existing budgets.
Okay, thanks.
I had a couple questions, Mr. Chair, when you get a chance.
Yes, sir.
So similarly to Mr. Carfang's questions and, Thompson with Ward 7, I'm curious about, so I want to make sure that I heard that last part right, and then just kind of maybe ask a little bit of a follow-up question to that. So it sounds like you're saying after, so if we were to approve this allocation, we would have about 15% left, or is that prior to this, the issue that's before us now?
Mr. Thompson, right now the allocation is at 77% approval.
Okay, right.
Today would take us to 85.
Okay, all right. So which is still a pretty decent amount from a contingency standpoint, like 10 to 20%.
It's
Okay, so
never enough, but we are blessed. Yes.
you got it, Michael. Okay, so understanding that, then I think just to kind of expand on Tony's question a little bit. So what we would assume from here is that this would obviously be a pretty significant amount of funding. I am also very much in support of the effort here. But we would still sort of really be working from that contingency, assuming that there are no other pressing items where there would be additional funding opportunities to refine or potentially even enhance some of the existing scoping that's taking place. And I'm really asking the question because I just want to, I know that we've talked about other funding sources, and I'm a big fan of us being smart about these dollars and leveraging them into other resources that we can bring together to create really good impact. I guess I just want to get an idea from the staff on how you all kind of see that progressing.
I'll take a stab at it, Mr. Thompson. You know, planning really kind of leads those efforts. And again, we're blessed that, you know, staff has a number of long-standing relationships in some of those areas. But I think what we're seeing is, you know, them continuing to work with the various districts, trying to understand the needs of the districts, how the resources of the funded projects line up with those needs. You know, just in particular, I think like Northeast 23rd is a project that probably the belief is it's underfunded for the needs of that project. I think that there have been several meetings there with stakeholders, again, trying to understand maybe what is a good balance between constraints, needs, resources, that sort of thing. So, you know, if we looked at that list of approved funded projects, you know, probably half have budgets that are probably pretty, you know, appropriate, and those projects can just move forward and we can deal with those. The other half probably are going to require some sort of decision-making process, again, trying to find that proper balance to bring to y'all for your consideration.
All right, thanks. If it didn't seem like it was a really good answer, it was very helpful for me just to kind of hear you walk through the process. So I appreciate that. Okay, so it sounds like, and actually, as we get some of these, some of the early on projects that have been moving along, like 39th Street, some others, as we get those further on the way, obviously we'll have less concerns about the contingency there as well. So so it sounds like we're navigating this process, and at this point, we'll still have a healthy opportunity to, as you were saying, balance out some of the needs of the projects that I think are still in the preliminary stages, which is my biggest sort of concern, or the biggest thing that I'm trying to pay attention to in regards to the street enhancements, is just making sure we don't run out of resources really to do the right things in the areas that we've identified. Okay, thank you. So one other question, and this might be something that either for staff or it may be that one of the representatives from the Britton area can speak to, but is there any sort of consideration for additional sort of transit? And I'm thinking about this from the standpoint of these kind of street enhancements. Very familiar with that neighborhood in that area. And so I'm thinking about how these enhancements sort of really would create the opportunity to tie back to how the Britton area kind of got it started in the first place. So I know rail is a long way off, but I'm sure some of the more enterprising and innovative developers in the area are definitely anticipating and looking forward to regional transit. But I'm also just curious about how these street enhancements might be able to support increased bus transit, potential, bus rapid transit. I know that's a part of the MAPS 4 conversation. And then sort of the multimodal sort of pedestrian friendly element of the Britton area, very clear. But just thinking about if these street enhancements really are thinking about or trying to plan for or encourage or incorporate any future enhanced transit opportunities in the district.
So I can't, this is Grace Powell speaking again on behalf of the district. I can't speak to this project specifically, but from the district level, we're absolutely thinking along those ideas. In fact, we have an architect who's volunteered to do some renderings of additional street parking and bike lanes coming up Classen. Our city representative with the planning, Susan Atkinson, has worked with us to make a recommendation for there to be additional bike lanes. And it's my understanding in this project, if you go to the Better Streets, Safer Cities overlay, that there is a street enhancement specifically called out for bike lanes on West Britain Road. So I'm hoping that that means that there is some other funding that's allocated to that in addition to this project that we're talking about today. Can anyone on staff speak to that?
I do know that there is it's what's called a citywide bike project. Mr. Carfang probably knows the limits of it better than I do, but I would certainly be glad to research it and get back to you.
So
yeah, as far as the Bike Walk OKC master plan, the one that was passed in 2017, I don't believe western to 235 called for a bike lane, but maybe west to connect through the village was on a longer ACOG plan as a better connection to Hefner. I do know the corridor has been discussed in the Bike Walk OKC plan updates. And certainly Classen itself and Chartel are great connections from my personal opinion.
But it's, you know, there's not going to be enough funding.
And we are hoping to see that. I mean, we're definitely supporting that update with the inclusion of the Britain district if possible. And we do need bus routes. We absolutely do, and would like to see, we'd like to see the scoping of a project like this done with at least that in mind. If that can't happen in this funding, if we could at least be forward thinking to integrating it in another phase of funding, that's one of the things that the stakeholders are very interested in.
If I might comment, this is Eric Wenger, Public Works Director, and help oversee a lot of the staff that are working on the projects. But to clarify on the bus, I think that's a very good comment and question. It's handled with a different city department that's not online with us this morning. It's the Transportation and Parking Department that manages our city's bus and rail systems. And so we can definitely get those comments to them as they look at the studies. It would be different than what we're discussing with Bike Walk OKC. So we will hopefully be able to maybe answer more as we get into the project about bus options, and we can answer those then. For Bike Walk, I think just as clarity, the Bike Walk plan includes a number of projects that are just simply not yet funded. There is a new plan that is being considered, or at least an update to the existing plan that's being considered, and it too will include a number of projects that aren't funded either as a part of the bond issues that are already approved. Its potential could be possibly MAPS 4, but it also could be future projects. But definitely getting those considered into the current Bike Walk plan is the first step. So we would encourage, participation in those updates that are underway this year.
This is Jeff Butler, Planning Department. We, of course, this is just the beginning of the planning and scoping for the Britain project, and all of these things we're talking about, we look forward to discussing with the Britain stakeholders. The Plan OKC does indicate that this area would be a potential location for transit-oriented development, which means that we would want to enhance the transportation, especially the pedestrian infrastructure, as much as possible to accommodate that. Now it remains to be seen what will actually happen with any kind of commuter rail, whether or not there would be a stop here. So we'll be watching that closely, but whether it does or not, we would definitely want to make the pedestrian infrastructure as good as we possibly can. So yeah, a lot of things to take into account as we move forward on this project, and we will be setting up meetings with stakeholders and scoping this out, and look forward to talking with a lot of folks in the coming months about this.
Thanks for that feedback. That I mean, I think that discussion of those comments really got to the sort of center of the question that I kind of had. It seems like the street enhancements that could really improve this community and this district could really sort of pave the way for some insightful aspects of transit-oriented development. So Jeff, I think you kind of wrapped that up. So I look forward to seeing what we can develop, assuming that we approve this proposal that's before us.
Greatly appreciate all the comments. Are there any other thoughts or questions before we move toward a vote? Okay, very good. It's been moved and seconded.
Mr. Chair, do you have voting buttons?
No, they have gone away. I vote yay.
Mr. Johnston?
Yay.
Mr. Dixon?
Yay.
Very good. This passed. Thank you. Next item is 3C, Sidewalk Projects.
All right, thank you, Mr. McKnight. I will be just giving the status update on the 3C1 Sidewalk Projects. Again, I don't have any slides for you, but you can progress to the next slide. All right. So the projects, we are moving along here on our sidewalk projects. CEC, the consultant, has been working really hard, and we are almost done with all of the allocated projects. Just starting with the Parks Area projects, we had 6 projects, 6 locations, and all 6 locations are complete. And that included the Woodson Park, DeLisi Park, Sellers Park, Denison Park, Pied Piper and Britton Park, and the E.W. Perry Park locations. For the pedestrian priority areas, we had a total of 8 locations, and 5 of the 8 locations are completely done. And then 3 of the locations are substantially complete, or about 95% complete, or in the punch list categories. And those areas included the Windsor area, Stockyards area, Southwest 29th Street area, MLK 23rd Sidewalk area, Northwest Expressway, Windsor Phase 2 area, Penn and 44 area, and then the Southwest 29th Street Phase 2 area. The transit area projects, those were done in 2 phases, and both phases are complete. And then the schools area, we had a total of 10 areas, and all of those areas are complete. And those areas included the Prairie Queen Elementary School, Northridge Elementary School, Highland Park Elementary School, Angie DeBow Elementary School, Ralph Downs Elementary School, Southern Hills Elementary School, Washington Irving Elementary School, East Lake Elementary School, Harvest Hills Elementary School, and South Lake Elementary School. And then we had the downtown projects, and the downtown sidewalk projects are being done in 2 phases. Phase 1 is 40% under construction, 40% complete under construction, and the Phase 2 sidewalks are under design review, under the district design review process. That is the status update on all of the sidewalk projects. We plan to bring recommendations for the give backs to the next meeting. So we expect some funds that'll be left over, either through from contingency and just a little bit of shortfall, and well, not shortfall, but just overages and the allocation for the sidewalk project. So we plan to bring back recommendations on how to allocate those additional funds to the next meeting. Are there any questions on the sidewalk status? Okay, hearing none, I believe I'll be moving on to item 3D1, bicycle facility status. And so with the bicycle facility projects, I like to start with the general Pershing project. This project is planned from May Avenue to Lee Avenue. The fixed limit of construction for this project was just over $435,000. I think we allocated some additional funds for that the total allocation was just over $468,000. Phase 1 of this project, which is from May to Penn, is complete, and phase 2, which is from Western to Lee, is also complete. And we're currently working on phase 3, and this portion of the project is between Penn and Western. We're doing some public outreach for this portion of the project. It runs through a commercial area, and we are literally petitioning the property owners through here regarding some of the proposed changes for parking, for parking permissions. And we will be taking a petition to the Traffic Commission and shortly. The next project is the Lottie project. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $431,000. The project is anticipated to be the first parking protected bike lane project, and we will also be starting some public outreach efforts for the Lottie project. The next project that is progressing is the Southeast 59th Street project. This is the project from Santa Fe to Air Depot. The fixed limit of construction for this project is $337,000, just over $337,000. We also received just $2.4 million from federal funds to go with this project. And the project will require approval for changing the lanes configuration by the council member. And so that is the status of the Southeast 59th Street project, and it is under design. The Villa North project, which runs approximately from Northwest 62nd Street to Northwest 10th Street. The fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $750,000. And the project will also be utilized, it's considered as local match for the BRT project. Consultant has been selected for this project, and I believe the contract is under negotiations at this time. Also, the Grand and Independence project, which connects to the Burt Cooper Trail, has a fixed limit of construction of just over $844,000. And this project too is also considered as local match for the BRT project. And it too is the contract for design is under negotiations. The Chartel project, which is the on-road portion that will connect to the Deep Fork Trail. The total project fixed limit of construction is just over $2 million. And a portion of those funds are for the phase 4 of the Deep Fork Trail. However, the on-street bicycle facility is anticipated, the work order is anticipated for April, was anticipated in April. And again, the balance for the project will be used towards the Deep Fork Trail phase 4 project. Agnew Project, from Northwest 10th Street to Southwest 29th Street. Fixed limit of construction is just over $168,000. Design is being coordinated with the Stockyards Street Enhancement Project. And then we have these, The next project is a Southeast 25th Street project, which is from Grand to High. The fixed limit of construction for this project currently is just over $100,000, and the project will require public outreach efforts. The Indiana and Lynnwood project, the fixed limit of construction for this project is just over $399,000. And this project is being coordinated with the Demonstration Corridor project, which is a transportation alternative project, funded project. The drawings are being done by Cabinet, and so we're coordinating those two projects. The Spring Lake project has a fixed limit of construction, which is just over $253,000, and a work order for on-street bicycle facility construction is anticipated for this fall. And then the Wilshire project, which is from Harvest Hills to Northwest Expressway, has a fixed limit of construction of just over $121,000. The work order for on-street and trail bicycle facilities is anticipated for this fall. And that is the status of the bicycle facility projects. Again, we have a plan, a goal to bring recommendations for budget revisions to allocate the remaining 35% allocation that's left for the bicycle projects. But that is the status that I have at this time. Are there any questions on the bicycle projects?
Lakeisha, this is Hal McKnight. I've heard a number of reports of glass and debris being collected in some of the restricted bike lanes, and wondered who is in charge of keeping those lanes free of glass and debris.
Well, I'll let Mr. Winger go ahead and make a comment. I think he looks.
Thanks, Lakeisha. Eric Winger, Public Works Director. How, Mr. McKnight, we are actually working with a new budget this year in Public Works that has been being presented to the City Council to add a new crew to provide for bike lane maintenance in this upcoming year. We have noted the increased need for maintenance, debris removal, replacement of delineators, just other general items. And so that is being presented to them. But in the meantime, we are able to address any immediate needs or any debris that might be in the lane. So if there's a location that's more concerning than another that you'd like to share with me, I'm happy to have one of our crews address it soon.
Thank you. I know the area on Hudson was one of the concerns that I'd heard about, but it sounds like you all are addressing that. So thank you very much, Eric.
Yeah, we understand the long-term needs of the bicycle infrastructure that's being constructed citywide. So we think addressing it with a full-time crew dedicated just to bike lane maintenance is going to hopefully resolve any concerns moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions or comments on bicycle facilities?
Yeah, just to follow up on that. So I think I have seen a fairly narrow, small street sweeper making the rounds as well. So I appreciate the new equipment for that. Out of curiosity, to report things like debris and glass, is the OKC Connect app still one of the more efficient ways to notify the OKC Action Center?
It is either the Connect app, or if somebody does not have the smartphone app, just locating or just by phone, the Action Center at 405-297-2535 is also the same tool, and that is the most efficient way to let the city know.
Okay, thank you, Eric. A few other little notes, if I may. So riding this weekend down Main into downtown to Clarity Coffee, I saw some wet paint signs for the completion of that Western to Lee portion of the general Pershing project, and it looks great. So I just want to say thank you all for the work on that. The other thing to circle back on, Ms. Dunbar, you mentioned the Santa Fe to Air Depot project on South 59th. If I recall from a little while ago, there were some concerns over the scope and budget to enhance that corridor underneath I-35. And so there were considerations to essentially move that portion to go up Eastern and connect to the Grand Trail. Is that still the plan?
Correct. Yes, I didn't call out the complete limits of the project, but the limits of the project are to extend along Eastern from Grand Boulevard down to 59th Street, and then along 59th Street east over to Air Depot. So we will not be, this project will not go underneath I-35.
Okay, thanks for the clarification there. Hearing about the $2.4 million federal grant, I was wondering if maybe that budget was changing things, but really excited either way for the project and for the federal grant there.
Yes, we have the federal grant, and I will note that we will likely come back before the board to ask for a budget amendment. It still needs more money because we are working on, because it is a federal project, the standards we have to accommodate have increased the budget. And so, but yes, the federal portion has added significantly to the project.
Okay, understandable. And I'm not quite sure if enhancing sidewalks in the area might be part of the same scope, or if that would just have to be an addendum. Certainly, there are a lot of desire lines of people who have walked through the grass between some of the neighborhoods to the gas station on 59th and Eastern. And if we can't do sidewalks there, at least the protected bike lanes will give the pedestrians a little bit more safe accommodations rather than walking through the grass.
So yes, as part of the scope of the project, because we did apply for the federal funding to get the points for that week so that we could get the federal funding, it does include the enhancement of sidewalks, particularly where they're bus stops. So it may not be fully contiguous sidewalks, but definitely sidewalks that connect at intersections and connect to existing bus stop locations. And then enhancements for signalization, pedestrian crossings, pedestrian signals. So it will include all of that.
Okay, great. 59th is explicitly on my way to work. And so, seeing all the desire lines or cow paths in the grass by the bus stops, I know those projects will definitely be appreciated. Out of curiosity, I have noticed down Eastern between Grand and 59th, at least from 44th to 59th, there's a pretty wide sidewalk in decent condition most of the way, rather than say a protected bike lane in the road that might lead to a lane reconfiguration. Would making that portion, say a multi-use trail, just enhancing the sidewalk width and adding some extra lane lines and paint and maybe some signage, would that be within scope as well to consider?
I can check with our consultant who's doing the design. We had not considered doing extra wide sidewalks in addition to the bike lanes. Of course, it would be an added cost if we were to do both. So it would likely need to be one or the other, but it's something that I think we could try and take a look at. I'm not sure if we're too far along in the design to consider that.
Okay, and just to clarify there, perhaps a multi-use trail instead of the protected bike lane might be an option. Then I had another Ward 2 constituent reach out to me showing a picture of some new paint on North Chartel that's also really looking good. And so he wanted to express his appreciation for the progress there too.
Thank you. Are there any other questions regarding their bike project status? Well, that is all I have. I'll turn it over to, I believe we will do the item 3E1 trails, and I believe Brock will be doing the presentation on this this time.
Thank you, Lakeisha. Yep, I'll start with item 3E1, and I'll do our status updates on all the trails. As you know, the completed projects are Burt Cooper, Overholster, and the Overholster to Hefner Trail are complete. Substantial completion is the South Oklahoma River Trail. We're just kind of finishing up everything there. And we're starting the North Oklahoma River Trail in construction there. Already in construction is the Katy Trail. And then for finishing design, we're finishing up the design work on the Hefner Trail, Deep Fork, and the Lightning Creek. One other note is that, excuse me, the trail signage has started. And so they are currently working on the Burt Cooper Trail, getting the trail way signage in place. And with that, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer anything.
Brock, this is Hal McKnight. Just for clarification, those trails that you mentioned, those are existing trails that with our funds have gone in. The first one was the Burt Cooper Trail, and have rebuilt those trails or resurfaced those trails. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yep. I did add the two new trails are the Deep Fork and the Hefner Trail. And last time I brought in kind of we did a brief overview of the Hefner Trail and went over everything there. And so we're finishing. Those are the two new ones. But yes, all the others are existing trails, and we did do, maintenance efforts on those. We tried to at minimum resurface everything, but some areas we did reconstruct.
Very good. Very good. If a person using those multi-use trails sees a problem, what is the best contact for reporting that information to the city?
I think just like everything else, I would start with the Action Center, but obviously the Parks does maintenance on those trails. So the Parks Department, I would imagine, would be a good contact to reach out to them. But you can always put those concerns in the Action Center, and those get shuffled to the right person.
Thank you. Well, I know everyone is very excited about the signage package being put out, which is wayfinding as well as trail rules. I think anything we can do to add to the public safety on our trails is a great step forward. That's something that we've been in need of, and very excited to see what the finished project will look like.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Brock? Thank you, Brock. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Next is 3F, the Implication Plan.
Thank you, Mr. McKnight. Mr. Carfang, just very quickly, I received kind of a clandestine text from the consultant working on Automobile Alley. He did want to assure you that the traffic study being done on Broadway is all modes. So we'll provide an update as quick as we can. Our changes for the implementation plan, the update will include a budget sheet for Britain Old Town at $2.4 million. That will be the only change this month.
Very good. This does require a vote. Michael, did you have anything else?
No, sir. Just if y'all have any questions, I'll try to help.
Mr. Chair, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Mr. Johnston?
Yay.
Mr. Dixon?
Yay.
Very good. That passes. Thank you. Next is 4A, the financial report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Ian Hutchison in the Office of Management and Budget, and I will go through the financial report for you guys today. So this report is as of March 31st, 2021. Obviously, a little over a month has passed since these numbers were ran, so there have been some changes. But as of the time that this report was ran, the total to date revenues in the Better Streets Safer City Sales Tax Fund were $262,207,000. In April, that went up by about $100,000. So that was the change for the month of April there. The current allocations out of this fund stand at $254,237,000. Those have not changed since this report was ran. Total encumbrance was $37,353,000. That has gone down by a couple $100,000. And the total expenditures to date was $132,155,000. And those have increased by about $3 million over the past month. So just some relatively small changes, although expenditures have gone up more than revenues did. So that's good. That's what we want to see. And That leaves about $8 million, which has not been allocated, revenue that has not been allocated, and there's still about $90 million of a difference between the obligations and total revenue that is available for projects. So I would be happy to answer any questions, but that is the financial report for the May meeting.
Does anyone have any other questions for Ian? For your report, this does require a vote as well.
Mr. Chair, how would you like to vote?
Yay.
Mr. Johnston,
Yay.
Mr. Dixon,
Yay.
Very good. That passes. Thank you. Next item is 5, the director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Eric Winger. I think we covered it at the beginning of the meeting. There was a question regarding our upcoming meetings. Our next meeting in June will likely be a virtual meeting, but it does appear that the City of Oklahoma City and its boards, trusts, and advisory boards will likely be moving back to in-person meetings, possibly as early as our July meeting, but we'll continue to keep the board updated on our status. We are anticipating additional approvals of reports. As you've seen today from the staff presentations, there's been lots of progress on projects. We're nearing completion on some, but again, our streetscapes and our bicycle infrastructure continue to be designed. And so we have additional reports and presentations to make in the coming months. But with that, we appreciate the board's time and can answer any questions that you may have.
This is Jeff Butler. I don't have anything else. Again, thanks for your time and happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate all the hard work you guys and your staff are doing. Item number 6 is next. Comments from the board.
Jason Johnston at large. It was a long time ago. I said, well, it'd be nice if somebody showed up to these meetings. So it was kind of a nice thing to have community involvement today. I had expected a lot more of that along the way, which we've not had. And it's great to see such an active component seeking our help. So I was glad we were able to help them.
And I'll second that. Ms. Powell, having that extra context, especially with regard to the traffic counts through the village, really provides insight that as just a citizen board member, I didn't really have otherwise. So I really appreciate the extra context and the passion too.
Mr. Chairman, this is Jim Lee Hugh, Ward 5. And I just wanted to commend our city staff. Mr. Winger, thank you guys. Today for Ward 5, we had 22 years ago, we had that tornado that came through South Oklahoma City and more. And it made me think about all the significant events just in this last year that you guys have dealt with ice storm back in October, snow, and then all the flooding, rain. You guys are just phenomenal in how you are leading in our city and caring for our community. And I just wanted to tell you guys, thanks for all that you do, all the work that you do behind the scenes. You guys are extremely professional, and it's a privilege just to get to see you guys do this every day. Thanks.
This is Tony Carfang from Ward 2. I just have 2 quick things. So first, May is National Bike Month, and the Association of Central Oklahoma Governments is sponsoring and hosting a fair amount of events. Like last year, there's a social media-based scavenger hunt that has been pretty popular last year, and they're doing that again this year. On Saturday, this Saturday the 8th, there is a bike expo from 9 to 12 at OKC River Sports. So there'll be a whole bunch of people, including myself and my cargo bike there to demo interesting bikes and e-bikes and maybe do some test rides as well. And then of course, I think Friday, May 19th is Bike to Work Day. So there are a number of rides planned throughout the city to meet at Myriad Gardens with Junction, the double-decker bus for coffee. And then there are a number of other interesting events going on with regard to bicycle education and tune-ups and workshops and things of that nature. And ACOG's website has most of those details. The other thing I wanted to mention, there are a couple of different social media groups related to bicycling in Central Oklahoma, and pretty much all of them were absolutely ecstatic to see all the progress on the West River trails. So a big thanks to city staff on working through those challenges and getting that back open.
Greatly appreciate everyone's involvement today. Greatly appreciate all the work that city staff puts into these meetings, and very excited to look at doing improvements in the Paseo and in the old Britain town area. I think doing these partnerships with the city and with these folks that are so passionately involved, I think is just wonderful, and very excited to see the final results. Any other comments from board? Thank you. Any comments from staff?
If you don't mind, I'd like to make one small correction. Bike to Work Day is Friday, May 21st. May 21st. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lakeisha. Any other comments from staff? Are there any comments from citizens?
No one else has signed up to speak, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And as Jason said, greatly appreciate the citizens that spoke today. I think it's very enlightening and greatly appreciate their time. Great meeting, everyone. Stay safe. Enjoy the great Oklahoma outdoors while the weather is pleasant. We are adjourned. Thank you.